like to start and we can kick off. There we go. So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the February virtual meetup from the Welsh Azure user group. As usual, you are all welcome. Great to see so many familiar faces and a couple of new faces there, including unknown user in the chat. So we'll figure out who that is at some point, no doubt. But look, quick hello from us as your kind of local user group organising committee, I suppose. You probably see it's myself and Matt pretty much focused on the sessions as of late, but behind the scenes, a few of us have dropped away over the time, but it's to be expected. But if you need to get hold of us for any reason, there's a little picture and there are some links down the side there. We're all on LinkedIn. Feel free to add us or look us up on Twitter. You'll find our Twitter handles fairly quickly, I would have thought. But yeah, if you want to reach out to us for any reason, it's a community user group. So we're here to service the community. So, any feedback, any ideas, do you want to come and speak? Anything whatsoever, feel free to hook up with us on LinkedIn or Twitter or something and reach out and let us know what it is you've got to offer. And yeah, we can chat about it. But further ado, this month on the user group, again, we've got two, same format as we've been doing for the last fair while. Two fantastic speakers are coming to join us. Try to get a bit of a theme on the go here with governance and security. So we'll get onto the timings in a second, but we got Tiago joining us straight after I stop rambling on to talk about Azure governance and the fact that he finds the lack of Azure governance very disturbing. So really interesting. And for those that you don't know, Tiago, got to be one of the most well-respected trainers on the scene at the moment. I think the amount of work I see you doing, Tiago, is phenomenal, and of course the amount that Tiago puts back into the community. If you're not following him on Twitter, go and look him up and reach out. He's doing some fantastic stuff. So really privileged to have you back with the Welsh Azure user groups. You've been here before, so thank you for that, Tiago. Much appreciated. Looking forward to your session. And then following Tiago, immediately after, our good friend from well, down south, really, from us, Dee Bolt, will be back on again. Again, another, familiar face with the Welsh Azure user group. He'll be talking to us about, well, security tomorrow. So Microsoft security roadmap. So again, like I say, try to theme these because typically speaking, governance security always seems to get kind of spoken about in and around the same context. So I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of overlap and some, like you say, you got some fantastic speakers joining us tonight to take us through that. So, really settle back with the popcorn and lap up the learnings, I think is probably the best thing to do. Okay, bit of housekeeping first. It should go without saying, but just to remind everybody, please be courteous to each other. This is a community user group. You've got full control of your chat, your video, your audio. Do the right thing. Stay on mute unless you're invited to come off mute. There are no silly questions. We're all here to learn. Use the chat facility if you can, rather than disturbing the speaker straight off. But if the speaker invites you to come off and have a chat, absolutely fine, not a problem. Like I say, use that chat window, be interactive. We're all there. We'll probably help each other answer the questions if the speaker's busy. And yeah, feedback. I'll drop a QR code at the end of the session. Again, we collect the feedback month on month just to kind of help navigate, what kind of topics are going well, and what kind of topics you want to look at in the future. So please do leave us feedback if you get the chance. Again, it goes without saying, we're going to get this quiz platform famous, Matt, but we've got a quiz. So immediately after Dee's talk, we'll be jumping over to our famous, I'm going to call it the famous quizzer quiz.
Infamous.
Quiz. So usual thing, if you've not joined us before, get your mobile phone or get your browser ready. Very, I mean, can you say it's similar to Kahoot? I'm going to get you into trouble, Matt. And it's not similar at all to Kahoot, but pretend it was.
Inspired by.
Inspired
Loosely
by.
inspired by.
And it's using some OpenAI generative AI now. So, it's, we're really living with the times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of prizes, ironically, some AWS vouchers up for grabs. AWS, not AWS, Amazon. What am I on about? Amazon vouchers up for grabs. So ironically, good old Jeff Bezos is getting something off this anyway. So there we go. Most importantly, please do be interactive. Have a bit of fun. Communicate with friends in the chat there. We're all here to learn. So enjoy the sessions. Please do be interactive. But before we get to the sessions, quick shout out as always from our sponsors that we couldn't do these events without. Like I say, every month Servant have been with us pretty much from the start of the Welsh Azure user group. So, Matt, we're coming up to 4 years now. We're not far off, are we? 3.5
Might even be
years.
5, is it?
I'd surprised how long it keeps going on. It's like, yeah. Well, I think it's 4. Well, COVID 2020 we started. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
we're
right.
coming up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Servant have been there from the start. You can see they support a few of the other local user groups like the Northern Group. We've got the Glasgow Group and us as the Welsh Azure. So big shout out to Des and the team at Servant, really staple, doing their bit for the tech community and supporting all these great user groups. So big shout out to those guys. If you don't know who they are, look them up, servant.co.uk. They're a really well-respected Microsoft partner, and they're doing some great things as well at the moment. So if you don't know them, go and give them a look up and give them a thumbs up for us if you see any of their comments, because they're supporting the community, which is quite close to all our hearts here. And another big shout out to a locally HQ'd company down in Cardiff called Credit Safe, stepped up to support the user group probably about 6 months or so ago now. And I know we're going to get some of the team from Credit Safe on to do a big talk, because they're a multi-cloud house at the moment. They've done some really great stuff over the last few years. But big shout out to Credit Safe. Like I say, it's always nice to have a locally based company supporting a local user group, even though we got folks on from all around the globe, and we're proud to have everybody join us, and don't not join us, keep coming. We want to tell your friends about it as well. We want as many people on these sessions as we can. But like I say, big shout out to the sponsors. Couldn't do it without those guys. One other quick announcement as well, just jumping back to Servant, they've actually got AVS is kind of, for probably all the right and wrong reasons, the Broadcom acquisition of VMware has kind of inspired, I think it's probably fair to say, an industry call to arms with, how can we help businesses at the moment with their potentially increased VMware renewals. I think it's fair to say with the Broadcom acquisition, I think there's a few announcements being made recently. I've noticed, obviously, there's no free ESXi anymore with VMware. Some of those licenses are going away. So anyway, there's a bit of a call to arms in the industry. How can we help? Of course, Azure VMware solution is a first party Azure, Microsoft Azure built platform, which can help kind of cement in some of those potentially unforeseen costs over the coming 1, 3, 5 years potentially at the moment. And there's some great campaigns going on at the moment that I'm sure Servant are going to be kind of announcing in conjunction with Microsoft. So I know Darren Small is on this as well, along with the Servant team. So if you've got a bit of time and you're interested in that and you're looking to do something with AVS, I think you can click the link. Yeah, you can click the link. If not, I will get the link and paste it in the chat in a second. But join up for the session. It's actually, I think it's in person. So if you are in Edinburgh or around the surrounding areas, all the better. But having said that, look out for more news on AVS, because I think there's going to be a few bits and pieces to come over the coming weeks and months. And that is it from me. On that note, I'm going to hand you directly over to Mr. Costa. And thank you, Mr. Costa, for joining us. Like I say, always a privilege and a pleasure to have you. I'll let you jump straight into your talk.
Okay, so thank you so much. And let's just get started here. And thanks for the kind presentation, by the way, John. It's always nice to be here. Always nice to be sharing, a little bit my knowledge. That's kind of why I think most of us do this, So it's always good also to have an audience that it's interesting. And let's get started. So we're talking about governance. And sometimes when we start talking a little bit about governance, people think, oh my God, that's such a boring topic. Okay. And look, not saying that it's like the most, let me just do something or else I will have a sofa that's going to be destroyed. Move my cat from one place to the other. There you go. So like I was saying, in terms of governance, sometimes people don't see the importance of this, but this has huge implications when it comes to costs of running your Azure resources and security, okay? So let's get started with this and just a short presentation about myself. So my name is Tiago. I basically work as a cloud architect and advisor for the Microsoft Cloud, which ranges, to be honest, a lot in terms of topics, but my thing, my butter and bread is definitely it's Azure. That's, what I love to do every single day. And I love to architect solutions, assess, what companies they have. And that's probably like half of my time is doing consulting. The other half, it's kind of a little bit more than a half. Okay, my wife sometimes wants to kill me, but it's what it is. You can also find me sometimes in the classroom, teaching people Azure. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer and also a regional lead, and I teach those official classes. But I also have, and this is where I really love my own content. I also love to create content. So I have a bunch of stuff that I teach. I record. I was just recording, just some videos before this about something about Azure that I can't tell the name yet. But that's always pretty cool, and create content that you probably already read on Microsoft Learn and a bunch of workshops that you have. I love to author those kinds of things, and I'm very fortunate to do so. I'm also an MVP for Azure from some years, okay, 7, 8, something like that. And yeah, and I'm from the sunny Lisbon, Portugal, and today was an amazing weather. I was just for a walk at lunchtime, was like so nice, to be honest. Okay, this is just to make most of you jealous. Sorry about that. I always have to do that. Okay, it's kind of in our passport. In order to renew the Portuguese passport, we have to say that the weather is good always here. Okay, even when it's not. But today was. So what's the agenda for today? So today the agenda is about what is the cloud today? What's the status of the cloud today? Then, because I don't have time to talk and go deep in everything about governance today, but I still want to cover, so I'll just make a reference, CAF, WAF, what they are, and yeah, this is not a web application firewall, okay? It's a well-architected framework. Um, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the core things that I feel that for you, in order to have something in terms of governance, you should have subscription management groups, policies. Okay. So with this, let's talk about the cloud today. What is the cloud today? What's the status? Well, the status is easy. We have not basically Azure being used, just for that small department, or for that small business area. It's across, okay, all BUs across the whole organization. And of course, what happens is we have sometimes thousands of Azure resources, and even in some cases, we have millions of cloud resources. Now, let's talk about how on earth can I manage this if I don't have some structure, some organization into this. Okay, it's impossible. It's becomes a beast that no one can take care of. So yeah, really need to start to have things fully organized, fully governed. Okay, and also because we also work in a multi-cloud environment, and I have no problem in bringing here to the conversation, Google Cloud Platform, Amazon, they are amazing offers too. Okay, um, and we have customers that, due to their dimension, make sense to use a multi-cloud approach, and they are using that multi-cloud approach. And then, of course, we also have other organizations that they're not that big. They are not getting that much out of the model of the multi-cloud model, but they're still doing it because, it's one of those things that someone read about it in an article that someone has to do and everyone has to do, and they also want to do that, which we know sometimes, for the size that they have, it's probably not the best for them. But hey, it's basically, what we what we have. And yes, Azure policies are like awesome. I love Azure policies too. So what we have in here. So why my PowerPoint froze? There you go. Cloud management capabilities. So what do we have here? Look, security. I don't want to ruin the surprise. I think Daz is going to do an amazing session after this about security. But yeah, this is one of the core capabilities in terms of management capabilities when it comes to cloud. Protection, backups, disaster recovery, all of that. Again, something that's also super important. Monetization of this, I think it's obvious, when something gets broken, I need to understand when it broke, what broke, why it broke, why and where can I see this monitoring logs, understanding the load that I'm getting, probably not for this conversation today, but for other stuff, the scale, etc. We need monitoring. Proper configuration tools, okay? And this is where we are talking about, ARM templates. We're talking about maybe Bicep, probably nowadays, maybe even other stuff like Terraform. Look, whatever, it really doesn't matter what it is, but we need something like this with a DevOps approach also to that. And of course, then what brings us here today, which is this part here, which is the governance bits of this. And in the governance, as you can see in here, right, we have two big things, which is policy management that we have, and we're going to talk about, and also cost management, okay? But even before, we get to that point, I want to talk about something else first, which is CAF versus WAF, subscription management, and management group. So that was like three topics. And also cost management, okay? But even before, we get to that point, I want to talk about something else first, which is CAF versus WAF, subscription management, and management group. So that was like three topics that I want to cover. So let's get started here by talking just very quickly about cloud adoption framework and the well-architected framework. So the cloud adoption framework, look, it's a framework that we have, comes in the name, right? That enables you as an architect, okay, to basically design and adopt Azure in a structured way. Why I'm saying a structured way? Well, you don't need to follow this, okay? You could just build your own rules, build your own adoption rules in terms of Azure. The thing is, this framework, it's done, okay, based on best practices from the industry. They have documentation for this, they have tools for this, okay? All this is based on what? Well, all this was based on previous engagements that Microsoft engineers had with customers that they just created this based on all of those. And this will give you a great getting started, for you to do the thing in the right way. This is especially useful, especially when we have like those customers that they don't have the help of a consulting company in order to, getting started with Azure for them. They don't know how to start. This will give you, at least some guidance on how to start things, okay? And then this comes with, certain phases, let's call them phases, okay? Which becomes the first one, like defining the strategy. And, when I have, and I'm actually doing this from the start from one customer that I have, they don't have anything in Azure. And now, they're going to get started in Azure and they want to have proper governance, proper adoption for Azure. And one of the calls that I had this week with them was exactly this. Okay. It just basically I asked them, what is your motivation to go to Azure? Why do you want to go to Azure? What's the business outcome? What's the business justification? And we're going to write that down, okay, in the governance documentation that I'm actually creating for them, okay? So that we understand this. Then, based on those conversations that I had with them, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to plan for this. The plan, look, it's not just, hey, let's start and build stuff. No, we need to plan first. And planning, there's stuff like, yes, building the cloud adoption plan, but building, for example, a skills readiness plan, which is sometimes people forget that, there are humans involved. There are, engineers that they were not doing cloud and now they need to start doing cloud. And they might tell you that, oh, it's the same thing, but it's not. It's very different. And we need to retrain, reskill all those professionals. Okay. So we need to create, listen to them, understanding, what's your current skill set? What's the skill set that I want you in the I want you to have in the end of this? And I want to build a plan, like a learning plan for you, so that and you get improved in terms of your content. And then, of course, in the ready phase, we start to do like landing zones, and then we adopt. Okay. In between all this, there's this bottom part that we have here, like security, management, and governance, that it's in all, those phases, of course, that we need to worry about, and we need to do this. This is, in a very short definition, what is the CAF, okay? What about the WAF? And again, I will say, this is not the web application firewall, okay? This is the well-architected firewall. The well-architected firewall, it's a little bit more technical. It's more for, a use case like, I need to deploy AVS, for example, okay? And we need to do there's several pillars on this. There's one pillar that's called cost optimization. So I need to understand a little bit here, how can I manage costs so that I can maximize the value that I'm going to deliver, For example, I had a customer the other day that they were complaining about the money that they pay to Azure. And when I saw the amount, I was like, whoa, yeah, that's a lot for what you have, Let's see what we can do here. And of course, like things like reserved instances and such that they didn't have. Okay, so we have something that we need to optimize. Okay, then we also need to talk about operational excellence. Okay, so we need to talk a little bit about what kind of processes I need to have to keep the system running in production. Maybe load balance this and have more than one instance, stuff like this. Performance, the ability to adapt changes in load. So, monitoring, have, something that monitors the load, and have rules like, hey, if the load is higher than X, maybe I need more capacity in terms of compute, whatever this is doing, okay? So that kind of stuff. Then, of course, reliability. You need to have a system that can recover from failures. Because, look, when we talk about this, I always say one thing to my customers: failures will happen. It's more important the way that we plan for failures and how we manage those than actually try to build a system that doesn't fail. Because, yeah, that will be great, but it's not me that's going to do this with the technology that I have available. I needed to change the technology. And maybe that will be a great project, but it's not. The context here is just not that, okay? And then, of course, last but not the least, security. How you can protect your application from threats, okay? And this is something that when you talk about, I don't know about you, but you can go in the chat and you can tell me that. But when I'm looking at architectures from applications, custom applications, and I don't even see something like, Key Vault, for example, to store secrets. I don't see a managed identity to access, a storage account or such. And I'm still seeing, applications accessing a storage account using a key, for example, an access key, okay? And I'm still shocked because, it's 2024, okay? So it's time to move on. And we have a lot of teams that they design and they architect solutions as they do them on-prem. And, they just bring that. I see a heart there. Thanks for that. I think you're agreeing with me, right? You can also use use reactions if you want, okay? Because this is like, my God, it's like 2024, or we're still really doing things this way. It's incredible, but unfortunately, it's the truth. So with all this, how do we get started? Well, we start to plan, etc. But then eventually, we're going to have a subscription. Amazing. We have a subscription. Just to clear up, what's a subscription? I like this definition: logical unit of Azure services that is linked with an Azure account that you can then be billed. And talking about billing, okay? So what happens with this is that this is used as a billing and also as a security boundary scope, let's just say. And why is that? Well, because you can do role-based access control assignments to the subscription. I can say, hey, Tiago, you're going to have role X at the scope subscription Y, okay? And okay, that's I'm not going to question that today. Okay, we're not talking about security in this one. You can do it, okay? But there's a lot of people that they use this as a billing boundary, and this is where I'm start to freak out, okay, about that part. I really don't like that when they use this as a billing boundary, because there is like tags, there's like cost assessments and cost managements that it's a much better experience. Okay, and of course you connect this with a single, well, intra ID, sorry, and you can have an intra ID tenant with multiple subscriptions, and I can have multiple subscriptions, and this becomes a kind of a nightmare in some organizations. I have customers that they have hundreds of subscriptions, and it's like, okay, managing hundreds of subscriptions, it's not good, to be honest. Okay, it's going to be a nightmare. So this is where management groups enter into action to rescue us, and the idea is to create basically a level above the subscriptions, okay, that we can use to manage those subscriptions as a group. And what we do is we create, as you can see here, basically a certain of management groups that they can be inside each other. So a tree, basically. And then we can put the subscriptions inside specific management groups. So the idea now is that I can use those individual management groups, okay, that I have here. Like, for example, I have, one here, one there, another here, here. Oh, sorry, here, and there. I can use those individual management groups as scopes for security. As also, okay, I can use them also as scopes for policy assignments, okay, that we're also going to talk about. So this is a great way, to logically represent your organization. But also think about in a way that you want to do this, but it's dynamic enough so that you can reshape that in the future. Because as we all know, companies, they adapt to the market. So sometimes they need to reshape. So they need to basically, usually we call them reorgs, right? Oh, there's a reorg, and now certain departments no longer exist. Other new ones were created, and maybe you need to adapt to those reorgs. So, always be careful, okay, with that part. So the thing is, where can you see this in the Azure portal? So you just need to search for management, okay, management groups, and you can then see here all your management groups. So in my case, forget about this 2 subscriptions that are here alone. Just focus on this. This is my demo environment that I have here. And I have, as you can see here, for example, this bit here, I have AZ Contoso, I have Corp, and I have branches, okay? If I go to branches, now you can even see here in branches, I have, let's just say, geos, okay? And then inside geos, if I open this, I have, for example, here a subscription specific for the UK, But for example, Germany and the Netherlands, they become so big, okay, that I even create manage groups for them because I have multiple subscriptions for those countries. Okay, so imagine this, because the local IT of this teams, they are putting some stuff in Azure, and I want them to give them, a subscription that they can do stuff inside that subscription. Okay, so that's kind of the idea that I had here in management groups. Look, you can create them, you can add subscriptions into them, you can take this subscription and you can move this subscription inside another management group, etc. Okay, so there's not that big of a story over there. So what can you do more into this? And now this is where the fun starts a lot. It's like policies. Policies is like one of the big things when it comes to governance, okay? Because I can create, assign, manage policies, okay? So this exists so that you can run an evaluation in a resource and say you're compliant, you're not compliant. That's kind of the big idea on this. But then, of course, comes other features with this. I can even have this with, we call them effects, okay, of deny. That actually I'm not assessing anything. I'm even not allowing you to create stuff, okay, that goes against my, my view on how that resource should be created. So I bring you here some, policies that I use like all the time, like allowed locations. Okay, so allowed locations is a very known Azure policy that there's even a built-in one that we have. That what it does something like this. Imagine that I want to create a resource. Okay, so I'll just click here, create a resource. I will just go to create here a storage account. And let's imagine that I choose from all my subscriptions here, I'm going to choose this AZ Contoso UK. And, it doesn't matter which resource group I have here. I just will call this storage account and, some random numbers to make this unique. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create this in this region here, West Europe. And you're seeing that this is already failing on me. It's just telling me, hey, look, no way. This is not because, there's a policy validation error. Okay. And it just tells me that, West Europe is not allowed. You could click on policy details, and if you have permissions, you can even go directly to the policy. And you can see the name of the policy. I call them allowed locations UK. I have assigned this, okay, in here. And if you see, there's this parameter that tells me that all my stuff needs to be in the regions of the UK South, UK West, okay? So that's my policy for this. And this is how, after you created a policy, how the policy is being used. Of course, now you might ask yourselves, hey, what about, Tiago, if I want to create a new policy? Okay, so first, let's just go with policy. And there's a fun thing in here, okay? There's this, which you can also click under compliance and check, which we call this the policy dashboard, okay? So you can see in the overall of all my subscriptions that I have, this is the status that I have. I have 56% compliant in terms of resources. And, you have all the policy assignments in here, and, you can see if they are compliant. Sorry, if they are compliant or not. Some are, okay, I have a bunch that they are, and I also have a bunch, that they are not, okay? So, for example, I have this one here that's called allowed locations, okay? Let's click on that one. And I can see why, this is not compliant. I see there's a demo PPG there. There's a ASG, another ASG in here. Okay, that it's basically not compliant with, this assignment. Of course, now you could go to each one of those resources and fix them to be compliant. That's a topic for another conversation. Sometimes it's not that easy, especially moving regions of resources. Not all resources allow you to do that. Well, most don't, to be honest with you. Others don't even make any sense for you to switch them due to the nature of the services. So it's a lot of conversation around this. But definitely, if you have that assigned, for example, like I have this assigned, and you can view the assignment here. Okay, so if you click there, you can see, and I can view that this is being assigned. Okay, where I have this being assigned in subscription called AZ Contoso Training, in a resource called AZ Demo, that it's inside that one over there. Okay, so what happens in here is that, well, if I have done this in here, right, I'm like, it's because I want all the resources under this resource group to be under that policy. Then, there is stuff that you could do. So you could go back here and, you can go and exempt, for example, one of the resources, but I'm not a very big fan of using this. So you really need to make sure you really want to exempt stuff like this, okay? And in the assignment, and by the way, let's do an assignment now. When you do an assignment, you go assignments and just say, let me assign a policy. You choose the scope. So I'm just going to choose, like, for example, the AZ Contoso UK and, this AZ Contoso app dev, okay? And I go and I need to select a policy definition. Now, talking about policy definitions, you can see here, there's like two types, okay? There's the built-in and there's the custom types. The built-in ones are generated by Microsoft. You just need to use them. They are just there, but you can build your own. You can even get inspired in the ones that exist here so that you learn the structure and you can do them. I usually edit them and create them using Visual Studio Code and using an extension for Azure Policy. So there's an extension for VS Code that actually helps you building them. That's usually how I do it. But in here, for example, I could go, let's just say custom. I don't have any in the UK. Okay, let's just go built-in then. And I'll just search for like allowed services. Okay. Well, it's better to type this correctly. Allowed services, allowed resources, allowed resource types. Okay. And I can add this one. Now that I'm adding this one comes with parameters. So it comes with a parameter called allowed resource types. And I can then choose here, and this is huge, as you can imagine, all the Azure resources, if I want to allow those or not. So it's about you to choose if you want to allow those or not. Why I use this? Let's go back to the slides here. So that's another one, allowed resource types, that I use a lot. And when I'm doing governance, one of the things that I do is, let's do governance, how to use this specific service, storage accounts. How do we want to use storage accounts? And we define together, with the DevOps team, with the security team, with, whatever teams we need to involve, how that service is going to be used so that everyone is okay. And we have kind of the green light to use that service. So good. Then, of course, probably, we need to put some policies in place to make sure everyone uses that service that way. And then I can go to the allowed services and kind of green light it. We can use this. If we didn't went through the process of governance for that specific service, that service is not allowed and you cannot create it. Okay. Of course, then you might, what about, if people just want to try it out, etc. Well, that's why we have kind of sandboxes where, well, it's another tenant, subscriptions that don't have that much regulation, where people can kind of do R&D, try certain things, but that environment doesn't have any connectivity with the other environment. Okay, so we are very restricted when it comes to this. We have amazing other services, other policies, like for example, required tags. I want this so that I can then track down costs. Allowed virtual machine SKUs. Again, you might say, why do you do that, Tiago? Well, you know what? If you really want to play around a lot with reservations, you might want to trim down the number or, of SKUs that your staff can use. If you restrict the SKUs, you can then, with Azure reservations, make a better use of Azure reservations. Okay, so that's basically a tip that I always give to my customers, and it's quite valuable, by the way. Okay, because I don't see that many people doing that. Now you know that too, and how to do it. Because then you can, of course, be more productive with your reservations. Because when you do a reservation, for people that don't know, you have to choose a size and a region. So if you choose UK, whatever, and then this is the size that I want to create a reservation. If you have a lot of, virtual machines using that one, that'll be great. And I say this for virtual machine SKUs. Now you can understand, oh, maybe app services might also gain from this. Yes. Okay. And a bunch of other stuff that you might have. Okay, so that's pretty cool what you can do with this. But let's just finish this. So I could select here whatever I wanted, review and create, and now you could create this this policy. I actually not going to create this policy right now, but that will be something that you could create very, very easily. Just to finish up, so what we have here, I just want to do this part, the terminology for policies. So there's a policy definition. In the policy definition, you're just going to, in the JSON base, you're just going to build, okay, your definition. And look, it's JSON, it's not the end of the world. At first, you might be a little bit lost on how this works, but to be honest, it's not the end of the world. Then what we do is we're going to do basically an assignment. The assignment process is taking that policy definition, selecting a scope, and assign that scope. Okay, scope could be like, for example, a management group, a subscription, or a resource group into that. So that's pretty cool what we can do in here. So we have here some of the scopes that we can use for this. Now something that I really love, which is this part. Let's compare policies with RBAC, because sometimes there's a lot of confusion between this. We have this Azure admin. He wants to deploy a cloud resource. First thing that Azure does, RBAC. Does the Azure admin has the needed rights for this? No. So it gets denied. Yeah, you can't create that. You don't have rights, okay? But if he has, okay, then is that the Azure policy will check if we have policies restricting this. And of course, if we have, oh, there's a restriction, you can't use this. What happens is, yeah, you can't create this. But if no, there's no restrictions. Yeah, what you're doing applies to the policies that we have here. We're good. Then is that you create, that cloud resource. Okay. So what we have here in terms of my top 5 policies. Okay. Allowed locations, SKUs, something to enforce naming conventions. And I'm, sometimes there are a lot of people that we kind of clash on this one. And fair point, okay? Enforce tags, so that we can have that so that everything is tagged, so that it's just easier to do cost management. And of course, the allowed services or resource types, basically. Okay, so that's kind of some of the top 5 policies that I always love to use, and I always try to use as best as I can. And of course, there's many more. Okay, I can just, before we finish, I can just show you here. Also, I have under policies, and if I go to definitions, okay, and if I select here just the custom ones, I can show you here. I have, it's called VNet. No, NSG. There you go. I have this one is a custom policy that I have here that, if we go down here and just look at this bit here. So what I'm doing is I'm going to network security groups, to the security rules that are inbound security rules, and check the destination port range so that, this will not be allowed if you have this in the parameter of the denied ports. And this could be multiple denied ports. Could be just 1, 2, 3, 10, like whatever. Got it? And the end result of this. The end result of this is this. Let me grab your network security group. And I think it's this one. Is this one? Yeah, maybe this one, yeah. And, if I try to go on inbound security rules and I try to do like 3389, okay. And if I try to add this, I get an error, and if fail this, disallowed by a policy. See? So this is not actually just to create resources, but everything that the ARM layer can touch, you can build a policy on it. Got it? I built this when I was in a conference call with another company, another consultant company, that they were saying this is not possible. So I just built them to show them that, yeah, it was possible. And it's not that hard to build, to be honest, okay? If you know policies, you build this in like 5 minutes, to be honest, okay? But never tell that to your customers. It took hours, okay? So that's kind of the idea of stuff that we can do. Of course, I can also have here. Let me go to assignments and then custom. I think I have one here. Yeah, naming policy. This naming policy, by the way, doesn't make any sense. Okay, just just to show up that. But I can just do this here. So this is the policy rule. It starts there, finishes there. So what I'm doing here is, if I have a resource of the type virtual networks, okay, what I can do with this is, for example, for the name, you need to put one or the other, okay? And so you basically need to start your name, with this. And look, again, if you use the portal, it will show up, okay? I will not bother you guys with that, but, you go on the portal, you try to create, because there's an assignment here on the resource group training images, okay? And if I try to create VNet on that resource group, I need to follow that naming convention. By the way, in terms of Azure governance, I don't know if you know this this article, but this belongs to the it belongs to basically to the CAF that has here, okay, all the examples on how you should use to do naming conventions like prefixes and such. Okay, and I'll post this here in the chat if you want to get that. Okay, so there's like some examples here, and there's a link somewhere. Okay, I think it's this one, abbreviations that you have here. Yeah, there you go. That you have here, like abbreviations for like all the stuff that we have. Okay, the advantage of using this is that someone already did the work for you, and we know that there is no duplications. Okay, so everything here is actually unique, and someone already did that work for you. Okay, so that's one of the advantages, that we have with this. It was not my cat that got my camera. Okay, it was just my camera is overeating and it just turns off. I don't know why. I need to find why that is happening. Okay, so but that's it for today. So session takeaways: try to create a naming convention. Okay, implement Azure policies to enforce tags. Start your governance approach. Find, for example, for cost optimizations, find dev and non-used VMs. Create, maybe turn this off at, a certain hour. You don't need to run them 24/7 for almost for sure. So you can do that. And also optimize your costs using reserved instances and spot instances. In the 45-minute version of this, I don't have time to talk about the cost management, but you have the cost management, and you can find a lot of stuff in the advisor for that, some recommendations, and the recommendations are there. To be honest, there are customers that they don't even click there. Okay, it's incredible, but it's true. But at least those two things, you can save tons of money. So shut down VMs that you don't need, and optimize the cost with the others with reserved instances and spot instances. So thank you so much. My name is Tiago, and this is how you enforce governance in your Azure environment. And you can follow me if you go on follow.tiagocosta.com. You have like all my social networks. The only thing I even have TikTok, I just don't do is dancing on TikTok. Okay, that's the only thing I don't do. I don't know if there's questions. I had this one here, but I couldn't keep up with the questions. Sorry about that. Let me see here.
TikTok yet, right, Tiago? Not
Huh?
yet. Not yet. You're not doing it yet.
Well, yeah, you have to pay me a lot to do that, to be honest. And TikTok money is not real money, so that doesn't pay that much, to be honest. So that's not going to happen.
Tiago, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you so much. I think there was one. I was just looking at all those emoticons then popping up on the screen. So I don't know. That seemed like well worth it. That I just got flooded by a gazillion. So it's almost, that's amazing. Is that just people spamming? That's brilliant. But it is. Yeah, Dee's going for it. Look, Dee is going for it. Tiago, I think there was one question in there from Matt. I think I spotted. I don't know if you
managed to catch that. Can a policy be used on the scope of an AD security group? So the answer is no. Okay, the policies are to be used on management groups, subscriptions, and resource groups. Okay, when we are talking about the AD is when we talk about our BAC. Okay, role-based access control. And if we go back here in the slide, is when you have this diagram here. Okay, so the RBAC part, yeah, it could be a security group assigned. You can have the rights assigned to a security group, but the policy itself, no. Okay, the policy itself will be for that. But yeah, but good question, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Tiago.
I've got a quick question.
Yeah, go on, Matt.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
And I posted it in the chat, and I think I know the answer now, but I'd be interested to get your opinion on this. So if I've got a policy at different levels, the same policy, but with different effects in a management group hierarchy, which one wins? So if I've got like a global deny on creating public IP addresses, for example, right?
Deny wins.
Deny always wins, does it?
Yeah, you don't have to tell the rest.
That's interesting.
Okay, yeah.
So if you wanted to do like deny everywhere except for a sandbox subscription,
yeah, you can do it. So on the let me show you that. On the when you're doing the policy assignment, okay, so here when you do assignment, you do assign a policy. So you do the assignment of the policy, and then let me just do a scope here, like I don't know, like this, select, and then there's this part that says exclusions. Okay, So I'm
Right.
doing like in the top management group, but then I can go in here and I can say, well, you know what? I think that this and this should be excluded from that. There you go.
So
Okay.
what if I wanted to audit in that one subscription but not deny? How would I do that then? Would I have to have a second policy?
Then you need to, yeah,
assignment?
exactly. You need to add a second one to just have the exactly the same policy, but the effect audit instead of deny, and then
Okay.
you will just audit that. Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Cool.
No, great stuff. Really appreciate that, Tiago. Always an awesome session whenever I sit down and watch one of your sessions. So no, really concise and to the point there. So hopefully people took a lot away from that, because I certainly did. So really appreciate you giving up your time, Tiago. Thank you very much. And yeah, everybody's blasted you with the reaction buttons now, but give Tiago one last blast. There we go. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
Feel
so
free,
much.
Tiago, to stick around for the quiz as well.
Yeah.
It's always a good bit of fun. But no, appreciate that. We'll catch you very soon, my friend. Thank you again. Mr. Bolt, I think we'll just hand straight over to Dee. Lovely to see you again, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Hand straight over to you to take it away.
What an act to follow. I've got big boots to fill.
Well, absolutely sorry about that, Dee, but yeah, you've got Mr. Costa there, but I'm sure it'll be good. Mr. Bolt, I think we'll just hand straight over to Dee. Lovely to see you again, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Hand straight over to you to take it away.
What an act to follow. I've got big boots to fill.
Well, absolutely sorry about that, Dee, but yeah, you've got Mr. Costa there, but I'm sure it'll be good.
Cool. So a slight twist on the title that went out, but still very relevant. We're going to be talking about securing tomorrow and what Microsoft security updates recently have been and what you can kind of expect to come. There will be some stuff here that are in private preview, but don't worry, they're not under the NDA. They're public knowledge, so we don't need to worry about that too much. But if you do ask questions, there might be some things that I just can't answer, as you are probably aware. So if you haven't been to one of my talks before, I'm Dee Bolt, various software engineering jobs in the past. And while everyone was having an identity crisis in 2020 during COVID, that's when my career in external identity started. And as a side to that, that's where my career in security started. I worked then for a consultancy as a consultant and then as an architect, and now I'm doing my own contracting gig. So pretty much out on my own now. My prime objective whenever I'm not working is just to make identity and security enjoyable and ultimately give back to the community, such as you find, folks. Before we get into the main talk, everyone loves statistics, so let's talk about that. This figure is from 2021, so it is going to be largely inflated in 2023 and 24. But there's 130 plus billion daily authentications in Microsoft Entra ID. Subsequently, there's 25.6 billion attempts to hijack those accounts that have been blocked by Microsoft between January and December of 2021. Digital identity, as you can probably imagine, is a prime target for cyber criminals and ransomware attacks. And that compromise of credentials is very real, and the threat to the public and private organizations is huge. So we need to always have security at our forefront and always build security from the very start of any project. I'm going to ask a question to the audience. If someone wants to come off mute and kind of guess, then feel free. So in 2022, there was 921 password attacks carried out every second. Can anyone guess how many there was in 2023? We have a shy audience. Well, there was 4,000 identity threats blocked per second in 2023. That's a 300 plus increase over 2022. And we're also seeing kind of around 6,000 MFA fatigue attempts per day. So that's people just spamming your authenticator app, and at some point you just say yes. And we have seen that in the news where a company has been compromised just because of MFA fatigue. So what is today's agenda? I'm going to vomit a lot of information at you very quickly, and hopefully some of it sticks. So I'm going to talk about my AI friend, who we all know, and then we're going to talk about the updates in conditional access, authentication, what's coming new in the customer identity environment, what's coming new in verified ID, which is decentralized identity. A brand new offering by Microsoft recently is the Security Service Edge offerings, and we'll talk about dev boxes and Q&A. I'm not very formal, so if you want to come off mute or you want to put something in chat, put your hand up, whatever, you don't have to wait until the Q&A. However, if you were at Bing Ignite, you will notice that everyone got a new friend. The emphasis was very much on Microsoft Copilots, and 11 new Copilots were announced. December 1st, Copilot became introduced commercial data protection in the general availability scheme. So we're starting to see organizations starting to uptake on those Copilots and start to use them. But also that means that the way that you feed the data, the prompts, the responses, the user data, organizational data are protected and not training the underlying large language models. I do have one criticism from all of these Copilots, and that is that some of them do sound a little bit like Clippy. As much as I want to see the fellow back, that message is a little bit too patronizing for me. But we did get one that does help us quite largely, and that is on the cloud services side and the Copilot for Azure. So with Copilot for Azure, it's built in. You can use it to create resources and hopefully manage that in a safe and secure way. You know, from we were talking about there about SAS keys and access keys. Instead, you should be doing managed identity. Copilot can then kind of feed you in the correct direction. But it also helps you hunt for new resources in your estate. So say there was an Azure policy and someone's getting around it and you want to see those newly created resources, then you can use Copilot in Azure to help you look at those resources and inspect them and make sure they're provisioned in the correct way. And we'll come on to Azure policies hopefully later. It does look at things like if it's eating up your RAM. I'll jump through these because they're not very relevant, but also summarizing billing, and you know, it compares this across multiple months to find out your trends. But more importantly, we got Copilot, Microsoft Security Copilot. So Copilot preview, was that on my list? We'll copy that for you. It's Copilot for Azure preview. There you go. Sorry. I said these weren't very informal, so I stand by it. So Microsoft Security Copilot is built in many different products. First one is just for Microsoft Entra as a whole. because you can get all of this rich data from your organization and your users and what they're doing, it can investigate and help you assist investigating identity risks and just daily troubleshooting identity tasks in such a way, why a sign-in required multi-factor authentication. Are people getting bombarded by MFA fatigue? It can ask about users, groups, sign-ins, permissions, all of these good, rich data points. And then steps to remediate and recommend guidance for each of those identities at risk in plain English. So anyone can go in there and get an understanding and start to delve into the security ecosystem. It also allows you to create, lifecycle workflows in a streamlined way, and creating issuing user credentials and access rights. So what does it look like in terms of Microsoft Entra? You launch the Security Copilot. You launch Azure Copilot. You click to troubleshoot with Security Copilot. You can then look at different alerts. Why was a user prompted, or did conditional access apply to a sign-in or an application? How many attempts of sign-ins that are failed in the past 24 hours, and compare those to months or days on end. And then you have the suggestions of what to examine next. What do you pivot towards? Do you look at creating new policies? Do you look at creating or disabling or taking remediative action to a user? But it's not useful just for inspecting users. You can create with natural language the ability to create new workflows inside Entra. So say you need a new onboarding process, just ask Copilot. I think that's the kind of tagline for Copilot, isn't it? Just ask Copilot. It will view, you view the suggestion and then you tweak it to what you want. As prompts kind of go on, then it starts to understand what you're trying to do. A little kind of prompt engineering kind of thing that happens. But once you tweak it and you're happy, you can see the workflow tasks and the draft is created, and then you just publish the draft, and within 10 minutes you have a brand new onboarding process, which is pretty powerful, I think. The other kind of side of Copilot is Security Copilot for Purview. So Purview and data loss protection. Cool. Purview for data loss protection, you can help look at different data loss events. Has someone copied files from a managed device onto their personal device, understand the sensitivity of files and the contents, and understand the risk associated with the file. Is it high importance, but lots of people have access to it? That's very high risk. But Copilot can then digest that information, and without learning its underlying models, tell you what actions you need to do to help protect those assets that are very valuable to every organization. And insider risk, by summarizing risk factors and overall impact to your environment, user signals and access levels, they change, and if you fire someone and they have a month inside of your organization, they can cause a lot of damage, and they can steal a lot of information as well. So Copilot can look at those users, and suggest stuff that you need to go and do to help protect your assets. Pause for water. We also have Copilot for Defender and Sentinel. you know, SIEM is at the heart of most organizations, and you know, SOC teams are vital to protecting our assets. With all of that data, and we're talking trillions of data points per day ingested by Microsoft, you can use Security Copilot to give you the ability to summarize your top threats, and even create those hunting queries in KQL, Questo query language. But I will take a pause because I do have a video here which outlines just how powerful that is. I have a lot of slides here, so I couldn't do a demo on everything, but let's oh, that's a good point.
I don't know if there's any sound meant to be coming through. Yeah, I don't know that you. Yeah.
Reverse engineering.
Yeah.
And that's where we can look into
There we are. Got it.
Right, perfect. Okay.
Is that better?
From a simple natural language
Perfect.
prompt like analyze incident, Copilot then suggests some of the highest priority active incidences that an analyst can dive into and then look into that more. So what we're going to see is how Copilot creates a plain English summary of what's happened. And this is based on trusted authoritative information like Microsoft Defender and log files. And then we're going to see down here below that there's even a diagram of the attack path as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Now, some incident responses, they may require these specialized skill sets that not all analysts have called reverse engineering. And that's where we can look into a piece of malware to see what it does. But with Security Copilot, every analyst can reverse engineer with the click of a button here. So from here, Copilot's analysis of the code is showing us that the malware is trying to get to this group policy object using this ID number from this hidden folder. Now, these details can help teams find other affected devices and clean up. Analysts can also use Security Copilot to help neutralize active threats, and this is using the container prompt bug. So what we see here is how Copilot is laying out some steps for us. The first is to isolate affected devices. Next is revoking access for any compromised accounts. And then finally, of course, is to restore devices to a healthy state.
So it basically walks us through how to manage the threat.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So even with Security Copilot, even a junior analyst can then perform the most advanced research or investigation in just a fraction of the time that it would traditionally take us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
I'll stop the video there because it's just cutting off. You know, whenever I was joining this meeting, I thought I got to remember to share the audio whenever I share my slides. Cut out by that one, but you can see how quickly Copilot was able to do that. Whereas a SOC analyst, it would take a very long time to divulge that information, find out where the actor's been, what's been changed, where it's been changed, and then at the end, because you've been using Copilot to help discover these assets and to hunt for what has been affected and where the compromises happened, you have an easy report then to put into your SOC report or your kind of incident already wrote up for you, which is very powerful in my view. But talking about those devices, you know, we've got Microsoft Intune. You've got a Copilot for it now as well. So Microsoft Intune can create and draft those policies for you to manage those devices. So, like I said, it simplifies the policy creation. It looks and sees all the devices on your state, which policies and variables do you need to add to your creation to make it safe, but also impactful in a security enhancing way. But you can turn those requirements into policies. Just say, hey, you know, any Windows device needs to be secured with Microsoft Defender. It needs to have Face ID enabled, or sorry, Windows Hello for Business enabled. Anything trying to copy out and stuff like that, you tell it what you need, it creates the policy, and as Tiago said, you don't tell the customer how long you spent, and you sit with your feet up for a bit, hopefully. It creates, it has the understanding of these existing policies in there. So you're not going to create a policy that conflicts with another one, because Copilot knows your state. It knows what data you have. It has your users. It has your devices. It has all of those policies that exist. Ultimately, it enables you to utilize secure and tested configurations to avoid conflicts, is a nice way to sum it up. It's embedded experience in Intune, just like most of the Copilots that we've seen. So, it's going to show you what if scenarios and, highlight important details such as risk to user security or even productivity. If you're putting a policy up there that makes it really hard to develop with, why are you putting that policy up there? It's going to cost you more money in that kind of sense. But it's all kind of data-driven troubleshooting, as all Copilots are. They get better with all of the data in your organization. Access to Intune device data, security Copilot, and others, they can provide insights for your better understanding of issues across device compliance. App installation issues, or even health events or anomalies. All of those, Copilot can help you with. But while you look at some stats, the obligatory Copilot section is over. It is massive. It has been massive in 2023, and it's going to be even more massive in 2024. But one caveat I would put around the use of Copilot is it's just a tool. It gets things wrong, and very wrong in some cases. So you still need to have that background knowledge, vet the suggestions, and tweak them for your specific needs. But anyway, next on the agenda, what's new in conditional access? So Microsoft realized that conditional access has been neglected. We once upon a time had security defaults turned on. However, they're now managing those through conditional access instead. So now that they're enrolling customers automatically into these conditional access policies based on their own risk signals and current usage and licensing. So if you don't have the managed conditional access policies today, you might have them in a few months, or if Microsoft see that your tenant's a bit risky. These are going to really enhance the security posture and reduce complexity of yourself and your own organization managing these conditional access policies. You can, when they're rolled out to your tenant, you'll be able to view them for a little while. They'll be report only, and you've got 90 days then to decide what you want to do. Do you customize them? Do you disable them? Or do you just leave them and let them be turned on? What's more interesting, I mean, this is the start of Microsoft managed conditional access policies. So Microsoft are going to keep improving these policies over time, with the eventual goal then to combine machine learning, as it's always a big thing, and watch out for the message in your message center for these coming in. But machine learning based policy insights and recommendations will drive automated policy rollout to strengthen your tenant's security posture with the right controls in place. I guess, to summarize what Microsoft are trying to do here is, as the cyber threat landscape grows and evolves, Microsoft are not only going to recommend changes to policies, they're going to safely apply them for you ahead of those bad actors and what they're trying to attempt. And as I said, they have trillions of signals processed every day, so they know what they're talking about. Because multi-factor is one of the top recommendations for improving security posture, it does stop a lot of malicious attacks. The first three policies, as you can see on screen, are going to be multi-factor authenticated related. So, requiring multi-factor authentication for admin portals. This is the enter.microsoft.com, the security.microsoft.com, portal.azure.com, all of those portals. Of course, then requiring multi-factor authentication per user, and then on the high risk sign-in kind of things as well. Another cool thing coming in mid-March of 2024, so next month. It has been postponed by a month, so next month it might be postponed again. Don't time me to that date, but Microsoft Entra is going to support device-bound passkeys stored in your computer and on your mobile device, including any passkeys that are going to be managed by the Authenticator app. This is currently in preview at the minute, but as I said, it's going to go GA very soon. But this is in addition to the FIDO security keys that we have today. For anyone who doesn't know, passkeys is another phishing resistant authentication method using a device that you have already instead of expensive FIDO2 fobs. And part of that is a key update then to Microsoft sign-in options. So on the left, we have what we have today. And if you went to look at your Azure portal, it's most likely that you'll have it today as well. It says sign in with a security key. And on the right, we have face fingerprint or face fingerprint pin or security key with the kind of specific call out for the term passkey in the subtext. It's starting to become a real driver in the industry. eBay now supports passkey, I think I've seen, and many others. So it's a great driver. It's coming soon. I would love to know more about that. I'm guessing that's like Windows Hello for business. Oh, instead of Hello. But speaking of face, very relevant. Another rebrand. Face check for verified ID is coming along. It's a privacy respecting facial matching service based on the open standards for high assurance verifications. So Entra verified ID is based on decentralized identity open standards, and this is another part of that standard coming into effect. So Microsoft are actively developing that standard as we're talking today with other companies. It's not just Microsoft. So face check assesses facial matching and the photo in a credential. It's a little bit out of scope of what credentials are and all that stuff, but think of them as your wallet in a digital form. So the likes of your driving license in a phone, your employee ID card in a phone, etc. But the face check is there to provide business confidence when users are accessing sensitive information. The way it works, it's powered by Azure AI services, specifically Azure AI Vision Face API, if I got that correct, liveliness check. So it verifies it's a real person from live footage from the camera device. So it can detect a lot of spoofing techniques, like a static photo or even a 2D video, they can't get past this kind of liveliness check. Of course, as the verifier, and again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about how verified ID is, but as the person asking for that check, you will get the results, so how confident it is, but you won't get any sensitive information. So it's still protecting users' privacy, while those organizations are able to be certain that the user is claiming who they are claiming to be. So as I said, you as the requester, you can say only let people in with a certain threshold, and that's between 50 and 100. I doubt that you would ever get 100% match. That would be very rare, but 70 is the default. When it's successful, then you get the kind of result back, as I mentioned, with a confidence score. But if you don't, and it's below the threshold, you don't get to see the value, but you're told that it was below the value, and the user gets a message to help them. So if you haven't heard about Microsoft Enter External ID, specifically for customers, it is in early public preview, but it is planned to go GA in Q2 of this year. That's been pushed back from Q1 of this year, unfortunately. It's customer use. It's for signing your customers basically to any app. You can customize those experiences. You've got native Enter ID solutions available. So device code flow, for example, or on behalf of, those kind of things that weren't in the Azure AD B2C realm, unless you built it specifically. Microsoft Enter External ID for customers, it's basically the new Azure AD B2C. There will be a migration strategy from B2C to Enter ID and other identity providers such as Okta. However, how that's kind of going to plan out is kind of in the works at the minute, so I can't let you know how that's going at the minute. But as I said, it's a brand new platform. If you didn't know B2C very well, B2C was what Microsoft terms a mega tenant. It was multiple tenants stitched together to allow that kind of scalability. That really restricted all the features that you could use because of things like eventual consistency and stuff like that. So now they're bringing that in and homing that so we can develop, make a converged tenant that is both better for Enter ID but also better for KIAM as a general solution. But yeah, it's built from the ground up to be developer friendly, secure, customizable, and future proof essentially, and allow you to sign in with any identity provider to any app on any device. So lots of integration samples already available for many platforms. Do go see what's happening there. Sign up for the preview, have a play about. I would say that heavy caveat here is not ready for production workload just yet. Just wait for that Q2 announcement before you commit. Speaking of new services, I've got enough time. Cool. We got Security Service Edge is a new offering from Microsoft. The idea of the SSE platform, Security Service Edge, not the actor provider, is to have internet access and private access coupled together in a SaaS platform, very much security focused. Microsoft Defender for cloud is already baked in. Identities baked in. We've got, well, actually, I'll jump on to the specifics here. In internet access, you've got your Microsoft 365 apps already built in. You can unify the network access controls with conditional access to make security policies context aware. So what I mean is, for example, like say, if you're on a device that's not compliant, then you can block all access to internet destinations and internet and intranet destinations on your high-risk users or non-compliant devices, except for, say, self-service password reset pages. So you're taking those conditional access policies, you're augmenting them with the network conditions, and that is, for example, you can prevent stolen access session tokens from being replayed. We're starting to see a lot of token replays attacks, and they're quite successful. So you can prevent those based on that augmentation. The data is key to your business. It can protect that data exfiltration, stop it from coming outside of your network, and prevent users from bypassing that security edge or secure network edge while still being able to access internet applications. You can, basically anything that you can do with a VPN, you can do with this, but a lot better because you've got that threat intelligence, you've got that conditional access, and you've got the compliance of devices, which is all pretty cool. And they can be deployed on their own or side by side with your existing infrastructure. So on the other side is private access, somewhat related to each other. So private access secures your private apps and resources to users, but it does it in such a identity-centric way and provides that zero trust network access, or ZTNA as it's called. It really does minimize the risk of implicit trust and lateral movement. So you get on from one device and then you traverse your network that way, and it does that by replacing those legacy VPNs and using that identity-centric zero trust network access evaluation. Again, conditional access is all baked in. You got intelligent local access and traffic routing based on networks and where you are in the world, and you secure access from anywhere to anywhere, extend the private access across hybrid and even multi-cloud environments, or on-prem. So it's pretty powerful stuff. It's very new. It's very shiny, which is very attractive to me. So I don't know if anyone has come across dev boxes. I have recently, so I'm going to tell you about it because they're pretty cool. So dev boxes were announced in Ignite in 2022 as public preview. I think they're still in public preview at the minute. But what the dev box is a managed service that enables your developers to create on-demand workstations. And we're not talking about any workstation, high performance, ready to code. It can be done to a specific project, and it's all secure because, again, you have all of that data inside of your network to work and identify that user and apply conditional access. So it really means that your developers can focus on writing code instead of trying to get an environment that working. The first thing that I do in any job is try and figure out how to pull environments, how to get them working, where do I need to put secrets, if they're not using managed identity or stuff like that. But these are all, ready to code boxes, pre-configured. But more importantly, they are configured at a team level and even at a project level. So they're secure, like your IT admins can restrict access to sensitive source code or even customer data per project. So, role-based permission to do custom network configurations, developer leads can even then limit access to vendors and resources that they need to. If you have third parties in, which is quite common. It also means that you don't need to ship hardware. I have a company laptop. Most contractors that work for companies have a company laptop, and shipping them out, getting them back, inventory, stuff like that, simplifies that whole estate. But as I said, it can't come at the expense of security or compliance. So it's built in with Windows 365, making IT administrators' jobs easier. And they can, tie those or couple those with physical devices or even cloud PCs, VMs and stuff like that, and manage those dev boxes through Intune and Endpoint Manager, which, as we know, you have a Copilot for. So, hey, the world goes round, right? But it also means, with those conditional access policies, with those compliance and Intune and stuff, you can make sure that you're deploying 0-day patches throughout the organization. They're really cool. I love them. I'm trying to get my organization to buy into them at the minute. But there's always been one thing wrong with having a new laptop or device. And I think it really drives home in this comic is you spend a lot of time configuring it. And if you are doing that on a project box level, that's a lot of time wasted. Especially with temporary development environments, that would be a problem. However, entering code as config. So it's still in private preview, I believe. Although it might be public at the minute, or coming public very soon. But essentially, each developer has their own YAML file, and that can be per environment or project, and allows you to customize the boxes as they're being provisioned. It really means that your applications that get installed, your favorite IDE extensions, Copilot or Snake, or your formatting tools, it can clone your repositories as it's being built up, so you don't have to do it if you log in. Basically, any PowerShell or WinGit command, all while being provisioned. I mean, the part that I love the most is that you can even configure the Windows settings. So I'm a huge dark mode fan, so I can make sure that my Explorer is in dark mode. taskbars on the left, and anything else that I would like to configure. So wrapping up very quickly, even more security updates. So I'm going to pick this up now. We have Microsoft Entra permission management with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So it's improved at the minute. Efficient way really to consolidate insights with other cloud security posture information in a single pane of glass. You'll be able to receive those actionable recommendations and address permission risk in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud dashboard. So again, this isn't just Azure security posture. You know, you've got your permission creep indexes from AWS or GCP if you're using Entra permission management. So it's really cool, really powerful, all coming to Microsoft Defender for Cloud dashboard. We've got API security postures being improved. Now that's generally available, was last year and Q4 of last year. So you got Defender for APIs and in Defender for Cloud, and security admins then can see the visibility of business critical APIs and prioritize those fixes and quickly detect real-time threats for APIs published in the likes of Azure API management. You have Microsoft Entra certificate-based authentication, or CBA. So it allows you to how best to announce this. So it's several features that are improving the security posture for us, enabling customers and yourselves then to customize the authentication policies based on certificates. So, you know, a resource type or a user group needs a certain certificate to sign in. But it also means then we get, you know, multi-factor authentication with certificate-based authentication, which is in preview. So it can be used as a second factor to meet MFA requirements with a single factor certificate. What do I mean by that? So you can use a certificate-based authentication as the first factor, then passwordless phone sign in for a second factor. Or you can use a FIDO security key or passkey, as we know is coming up. Or you can use your normal username and password, but the second factor, the step-up authentication, must be a certificate-based authentication. So yeah, a lot of information and 2 minutes over, so I think I've done pretty well on time there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Dee. Yeah, there's so much going on in the world of security at the minute. It's I think you've done a grand job there with trying to pack it all in. But I think, yeah, certainly a couple of bits and pieces I picked up from there. So thank you very much, Dee, for that. Really appreciate it.
There's a lot going on, and
yeah,
it is amazing work from everyone, I think.
Yeah, and I think, you know, certainly, you know, especially with notwithstanding naming and rebrands from Microsoft, there's certainly enough to get your head around without factoring that in. So no, I think yeah, it's interesting future we got from a security point of view. But yeah, I think Microsoft does provide the most holistic set of products available on the market, right? In terms of, you know, all encompassing different areas of security. So
I was talking to a colleague the other day, and they were talking about, you know, the Microsoft estate and how it all works together so well, and it just works. But if you plug in something that's not from the Microsoft estate, then you start to see gaps in your security, and you start to see, you know, that problem arise, and that's where, you know, threats can get in a lot easier. But yeah, certainly stick with Microsoft,
sure.
Right?
There's a lot to it. I think it's fair to say. Certainly, like I say, even with my own life, with explaining and having conversations with customers, it's really trying to, you know, package everything that you've just described and more into a succinct set of slides to say, Mr. Customer, you probably just want to run with it, and you're going to get a really good comprehensive security, kind of standpoint that will just embrace and make your security posture better. But with that comes all of the additional usage of that and skills needed to run it right as well.
Yeah.
So it's always a good thing. But no, thanks again, Dee. Pleasure to have you back on. Good to see you again. I'm not sure if we've got any other questions in the chat. I mean, kind of trying to keep up with it, but I think you picked them up as we went. But no, if everybody is done, everybody show your appreciation for Dee. Thank you so much, sir. Like I said, it's really good to see you back here, and hopefully we'll see you again fairly soon. So with that, shall we move swiftly into the quizzer?
I will crack on.
Over to Matthew for Tunker.
Now,
and feel free to play along as well, Tiago D. Don't. It's open to all.
So, with the added benefit now of
music,
I got music on it as well now.
I like how you approve that. Wait for Alan to say something right. Oh yeah. Alan just put a note there. We've got live to our NPR. You're able to
Can't hear what you're saying, please, it's so loud.
I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we are.
Gone.
Right, did you hear that? See, look, you've upset Alan now, Matt.
Didn't hear anything.
You were asking for music for ages, and then when I deliver it, this is what happens. So rude.
Look, I was all with the music. That was good for me. I was more than happy with that. But yeah, Dee and Tiago, if you have a mechanism to share the slides, I mean, just if you're able to just drop a link in the chat at a convenient time, that would be perfect. But if not, not a problem.
Can I bring great background music? Is
this free license music, Matt?
Yeah, it's even attributed underneath it as well. It's from it's Creative Commons.
Creative Commons, is it? Right, okay, yeah. How many we've got in at the minute? 8. We've got 14.
Everyone's struggling to get in.
Drop a note if you're struggling to get in the chat. Just drop us a quick note.
Okay, shall I crack on? Top one tonight, John?
Yeah, top one I reckon we should do. Is that it? We got any more than that? Because I'm one of those and I'm not going to be winning it. There we go. Davey's in. Oh, thanks a lot, Dee.
Okay.
I feel like a radio DJ now, Matt. You've got to speak and send the volume up and down every time you speak.
I'll just turn it off. Frankly, it was just there mostly as a joke. Right,
any
should we
more
go?
for any more? Are we done? Anyone really struggling to get in? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Here we go.
Let's go for it then.
When is the Azure Cloud Services deployment model being retired? So this is the old pre-ARM model.
It's bound to be extended though, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yes. It was the 31st of August this year. I'm not sure I know anyone still using it now, but I'm sure they're out there. Next question. What will be the name of the next version of Windows Server?
Ooh.
Go on, you got to pick. It's a choice of 2, pretty much. $2025. Yes, Alan, exactly. It would be Copilot. I'm sure it'll have a Copilot in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Which text editor will no longer be included in future versions of Windows?
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, sorry about that, Nick. It's WordPad is the correct answer there. Notepad's getting an update. It's got tabs and all sorts of things in it now.
Oh god. Yeah, it's becoming more like WordPad, you mean?
Yes. Becoming more like VS Code, I think. It's probably.
Yeah.
Which of the following is not a Defender 4 product?
Yet.
Yeah. Defender for Xbox, everyone knows that one. Which exam covers Azure security technologies?
Yes.
Oh no, I have this as well. So if I get this wrong, I'm filled.
AZ 500, yeah. 200 is what? Architect? No, developer. 200 is developer. PL 900 is, I think, Power Platform Fundamental. And the AI one is AI. Which of the following is not a core component in Azure Governance? Right, and bear in mind it's fastest to answer as well. The faster you answer, the more points you get. Azure Functions, everyone knew that one. How many management groups can be supported in a single directory?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, you see, this is going to split people.
I know there's a depth of 6, is it? You can go 6 deep.
Think so, yes.
Like that. How many?
10,000 management groups you can have. I would
There you go.
argue if you got 10,000 management groups in a single directory, you have a problem.
You need another
Yeah,
management group to manage them, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Set up a limit, guys. Come on.
Which AZ CLI command do you use to trigger a scan for Azure policy? So if you want to automatically trigger the scan to run, what's the command you can use to trigger it on demand?
Oh.
It's AZ policy state trigger scan, apparently.
Of course it is.
When will Azure Blueprints be deprecated? I can't remember the answers to any of these myself now.
It never came out of preview, did it? Blueprint?
Don't think so. No. The two of you got that right. It's July 2026.
Wow.
I think this is the last question. How much does Copilot Pro cost an individual per month? We have to have a Copilot question. It's the law.
Copilot. This is Security Copilot Pro, is it?
No, this is Copilot Pro. This is the public facing one, not the enterprise one.
Oh God.
£19 is the answer. Oh, split the answers there. Let's see what we've got.
I did abysmally.
Our winner is Copilot. Who was Copilot?
Who is Copilot? Is it Alan? Oh. Alan, what name did you have?
Alan, well done.
It is Alan. Of course, it's Alan.
And we've even got some fireworks on the screen now as well. So, you know, it's had.
Oh, look at that. Amazing. Right. Well done, Alan. Congrats, matey. Do me a favour, only because it's late. I'm going to have my tea now. Ping me a note just to remind me, and I'll get that voucher sorted for you in the morning. But there we go. Right. Quickly, let me close things off there. Matt, super quiz as always. And for those that didn't know, that Quizzer platform is available on GitHub in open source capacity if you want to run it in your own tenant. So
and it's using Azure B2C now as well, which I shall move over to Entra ID for external identities or whatever it's been called.
Okay. There we go. Well, there we go. We've come to an end of another fantastic month at the Welsh Azure User Group. So firstly, huge thanks for both our speakers like Tiago and Dee, as always. Great folks to have on the call. Thank you for giving up your time as always and coming and educating us on your area of expertise. It is forever appreciated. And of course, thank you to everybody that's joined in. Really appreciate the regulars and the newcomers. Like I said earlier on, please help us spread the word. If you see something on LinkedIn or Twitter, if you don't mind giving it a bit of a share and a push for us, that would be really useful to help us kind of spread the word and grow the audience and get a bit more love. Who knows, we might be able to get a few bigger prizes as we get a bigger audience. You never know, eh? But yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate you all turning up. There's that QR code. If you can spend 5 minutes just to give us a little bit of feedback, it's really appreciated. And yeah, huge thanks to all the newbies I see in the chat as well. Really welcome back anytime. Next date, 20th of March. Just in amongst getting those sessions set up at the minute, so put that in your calendar for now, and it'll be up on the meetup fairly soon, within the next week or so, I'd imagine. But for now, thank you all. Have a great evening, and we'll see you all in a month. Thanks everyone.
Thanks all.
Cheers. Have a good evening.